Okay. On the day one, we have covered the SDLC part, as well as I have asked you to prepare your system with GitBash, SSH key creation, Terraform installation, AWS CLI installation, like this, right? Install GitBash, AWS CLI, SSH key creation, and GitBash installation. Any questions on that particular stuff right now? Why we require private key file, why we require GitBash, why we require AWS CLI and Terraform? Badami?
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay, those are the fundamental tools for you, for the DevOps engineer to perform any task. Because we will not be doing anything on the GUI. We'll be mostly doing everything on the command line interface. So Git Bash is one of the important tool for you to interact to any Linux machine or any AWS, any resources in AWS cloud uh, through command line. The private key, public key pair is required to log into any of the remote machine. It could be EC2 machine or it could be any virtual machine. Terraform is required for. Why Terraform is required? It is an infrastructure as code tool where you will write code in HCL format, which is nothing but HashiCorp configuration language. And AWS CLI is used to interact with AWS cloud through command line. Some of the commands, can you explain? S3 LS to see all the list of S3 buckets. AWS S3 API create to create buckets in AWS. S3RB to remove the buckets. So there are various commands available that we'll take a look into it by next week. Can you go on mute? Okay. So we'll just take a look at the software development lifecycle that we have seen in the first class. So, like I said before, every operation, every development starts from planning and analysis or requirements gathering. So initially we'll be doing a planning and analysis about what the customer is expecting. Then we define the requirements, how many different pages, what are the different requirements from the customer. Then we'll go with the designing where we design high level design and low level design, how the product will, what are the different modules, and how they interact with each other. So this is there in the design phase, and then the development work starts where people start writing the code, especially developers start writing the code, and senior developers, lead developers, they'll try to integrate the code into a small application that becomes deployed and tested in the local environment. Again, that is getting deployed in the production environment once the testing is completed. After that, it goes for maintenance, and again feedback is given to the requirements gathering team, and they will do the planning and analysis, and then again it goes through the cycle. This is what is called software development life cycle. Any questions on this, Badami?
No, sir, everything is clear.
That's clear, right? Okay. So then we have what is DevOps and purpose of DevOps. What is CI/CD? Introduction to CLI. So here, so DevOps is an infinite process because it is never ending. So you can starting from planning. So you can see that starting from planning, what task people will do, what kind of activities everybody has to do. That is kind of in the planning phase, like infrastructure creation, application deployment, and feature development. What are the different build tools we are going to use? All of that will be created in the plan, and task will be assigned to each individuals in the team, and developer will start writing the code. Once the code is ready, it will go for the build stage. Build stage is nothing but packaging the application into a binary or a zip file or a exe file or a ISO image like that, and the build is done. It will be deployed and tested locally, and then it will be available for the customer to deploy. I mean that is for the production. Once it is deployed in the production servers, it will be operated by customers. But this operation will come here also during the deployment in the local environments. Just a second. Deployed in the local environment also, and it is tested. While it is being deployed in the production server, it is being operated by the customer. We will not touch anything on the production environment from our DevOps team or application team or from the development team. So it will be completely operated by the customer, and we will be monitoring that as a DevOps engineer, as a observability team. We will be monitoring the system which is being operated by customer, and then we'll keep reporting the feedback whether the CPU utilization, memory utilization, everything is perfect, the system performance is perfect. Then based on whatever feedback we get, again start writing we start creating the plan, start writing the code, and this cycle is infinite. Any questions on this?
Hello,
And,
sir.
yes, Ajit, Badami.
Yeah, no questions.
Sure. So 7 C's of DevOps. When we say 7 C's, everything is continuous. Only everything is continuous. Your goal is achieved. Your DevOps goal is automation. So continuous means it is continuously tested or continuously developed or continuously integrated. That's the way we can automate the complete process. This is a tool chain introduction. Jira for planning, GitLab for CI/CD and coding. Uh, build Docker, Maven, and Gradle. For testing, we go with JMeter and Selenium. It is mostly used by the testing team or the QA team. With respect to release, we'll use this one, GitLab CI only to release the product, or we can use ECR, Elastic Container Registry for releasing the product, releasing the Docker images, or we can use Docker Hub to release the product to the customer, and we get it deployed in our environment, in the production environment. So Terraform here, it means, I mean, it is about creating the infrastructure, provisioning the infrastructure, as well as deploying the product on the infrastructure created by Terraform. Kubernetes for operation, that is to manage, especially Kubernetes is used for orchestration of containers. Containers when they are running in the environment, it is possible that the containers may get killed or may get out of disk space or memory very easily. That's why we have to use Kubernetes to operate them. Kubernetes manages by creating a highly available, highly scalable uh, environment, which you can increase the number of containers and decrease the number of containers based on the requirement. And we'll be using Grafana, CloudWatch, or Prometheus to monitor the environment, where we will be looking at CPU, memory, disk space, It's a response time like that. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll basically move on to the next one. The key principle of DevOps is collaboration between different teams, automation, continuous integration, continuous delivery, or continuous deployment. All are part of DevOps. So DevOps at a high level, it's a philosophy. It's nothing but CI/CD. If somebody is asking, you can also simply say DevOps is nothing but CI/CD. Continuous integration and continuous delivery, continuous deployment completes or covers everything, whatever you do in the DevOps lifecycle, DevOps tool chain. It is bridging the gap because you are trying to bridge the gap between different teams by creating the consistent environments, like say dev environment, test environment, staging, and production. So all these environments will be same or intact or exactly the same until you deliver the product to the customer. So that there is nobody in your team who says the build is not working, the application is not working in one environment. Everywhere it will be consistent because you are creating the environments using provisioning the environments using Terraform, which is nothing but uh, a masterpiece of code which is used to create the same environment across same kind of setup across different environments, say dev, test, stage, and prod. Across all the environments, you are making sure it is provisioned in the same way. So what do we call it as the Terraform code? It is called as infrastructure as code tool. So if you appear for any interview or if you are applying for any jobs, the first question they will ask you is, do you have experience in writing infrastructure as code? The primary tool used by most of the companies, most of the organization is Terraform.
Like even we should be knowing how to write a code, right?
Yes, yes. So that's what I'm going to cover today, how we write the code, Terraform code. I'll let you know. I'll go through that section today. Okay. See, as per the topic, day-wise topic, the software development lifecycle is covered. DevOps purpose, CI/CD. In this CI, we are yet to see what is CI/CD, but concept-wise, we have already covered. Continuous integration means we basically try to continuously test the developer's code or continuously test our provisioning infrastructure code. The code that we create for provisioning the infrastructure, that also we test it using the CI. That is the next step we are going to see in the next class. How do we write the GitLab CI YAML file? How do we make it automated? Whenever we make some changes in the GitLab repository, how do we get that tested? Instead of running it in GitBash by just running /deploy.sh or Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply commands. So we also looked at the Terraform toolchain workflow and diagram and different tools and what is the need for Git, Terraform, and GitLab CI. So we are yet to see what is Docker. Docker is nothing but a container operating system on top of the virtual machine. So we'll have a look at the Docker introduction and virtualization. Sorry, Docker introduction and containerization by next week. So we looked at installing GitBash, Terraform, AWS CLI already. So we also looked at what is the need of SSH key. Any input for the SSH key? Why do we require SSH key? Badami, Ajit.
To access remote server to
Exactly. To
remote
access the
server,
service
local server.
from your local machine without without the need to supply the password. It is a passwordless authentication using private and public key pairs. Public key is in the remote machine or local machine.
Public key will be remote machines.
Correct. Public key will be on the remote machine. Private key will be used for authentication, that is in the local machine. What is the use of GitBash?
It contains all the coding, means basic codings, which is used for to develop a application.
It's a command line interface tool from Windows to make you feel like you are working on a Linux machine. Basically, GitBash allows you to type all the commands, gives you a command line interface, and make you feel like you are working on a Linux machine. When we talk about cloud, everything we do on the Linux machine, everything, the servers which are running, the application that you are running, whatever you are doing, everything is on a Linux machine. That's why it is important to learn command line interface. You also learned VA editor commands, right? Can
Yes,
you
sir.
name few commands in the VA editor? DD for deleting a line, YY for copying a line, P for pasting a particular line which is copied or deleted, colon WQ for
Save and exit.
Save and exit.
exit. Okay. What are the two different modes available in VA editor? Command
Command
mode
mode and insert
and
mode.
mode. Okay. How do you go to the insert mode?
See, escape I.
Escape I. Escape I, small I, capital I, small a, small O, capital O. All of these things can be used to go to the insert mode. From the insert mode, if you want to go back to the command mode,
You have to press escape.
you have to press escape. Very nice. Okay. Good. So then we looked at how do we do AWS, how do we run AWS configure? What is the requirement? What is the basic requirement before running the AWS configure? What you are supposed to have?
Public key and private key.
Yeah, public key and private key of an IAM user. Sorry. It is not public key and private key. It is access key and secret key. See, it is clearly mentioned here. You have to use the access key and secret key of IAM user in order to run AWS configure and provide the input, like what is the access key, what is the secret key, what is the region that in which you are running you are creating your resources, and then you have the output format JSON. Once you successfully configure it, you can do a AWS S3 LS or AWS S3 S3 API create S3 bucket. So I'll just show you some commands. Say AWS S3 LS. This command will show you the available resources, available S3 buckets. S3 API to create buckets in the remote machine. I mean AWS. So the bucket does not exist. That's why it is not working. So I'm creating this bucket. So using S3 API, I can type create bucket and then my bucket name. I can also show you the contents in the .aws folder credentials file. Because I ran the AWS configure, I'm able to put the access key and secret key in this file. This is a fundamental requirement for running the AWS CLI commands. So now I can see what is there in this bucket, but there is nothing inside. So I can also copy right now some content. Say AWS S3 CP readme.md to this bucket. This is in the remote server. This file will be copied to this bucket. Now, if you do a AWS S3 LS, you can see that this readme file is available here. Like that, we can do everything from command line. Instead of logging into AWS console, we can do all these operations simply from your GitBash. That is one of the reason why we are configuring, we are running AWS configure and passing the access key and secret key of IAM user. IAM user, for now, we will be keeping the administrator access so that we are able to access all the resources. We are able to create the resources, modify the resources, delete the resources on AWS account. Then we had a look into the Terraform and what is infrastructure, what is provisioning the infrastructure. What are the different stages in the Terraform? What is the workflow of Terraform? Badami. Init, validate, plan, apply, and destroy. Correct? You remember seeing this or no?
Yes, sir.
I'll exit from here. I'll go to the other slide. So what is the extension of Terraform files?
.tf.
.tf. Because Terraform as a software will look for only .tf extension files. And what is the format in which the files to be written? It should be HCL, HashiCorp configuration language format, HCL format. It is very similar to JSON, but in fact more simpler version of the JSON. You don't have to put a comma in the end while you are writing the code for after each and every statement. What is a state file? State file is the file which is created once the resources are created in AWS or Azure, any cloud. That information about whatever resources that are created will be recorded in your state file. That will be used as a reference for you for Terraform to create resources next time, or for to modify the resources or delete the resources. It will refer to the state file which is stored either locally or in S3 bucket. With respect to running the pipeline, we'll be storing it in S3 bucket. Most of the organizations follow the same procedure. They will store the file in S3 bucket, Terraform state file in the S3 bucket, and then they modify the state file once information is changed by running the Terraform. So as soon as the resources are created, modified, the state file is modified. State file contains the latest information about the AWS resources which are created, modified, or deleted. So it contains the latest your infrastructure details, latest details in the state file. It will be mostly stored in the S3 bucket. Okay, any more questions on the Terraform workflow? So we have a init where you initialize your working directory. You create all the configuration information to connect to the AWS cloud. You create all the plugins, deploy all the plugins, install all the plugins. In the next stage, you do a validate to ensure whatever code that you have written is properly written, everything is correctly formatted, you are able to connect to the cloud. So everything will be done in the validate stage. The plan stage is like it is a blueprint of whatever you are going to create. It gives you a clear cut idea of how many resources going to be created before you make a decision whether you want to really create it or you really want to modify it. And then you do apply, which is a actual operation that you do on the AWS cloud, which is like maybe creating some new resources, removing some resources, or modifying some resources. Anything. It could be add, change, or delete. Only 3 operations that you can do using Terraform. Destroy, whenever you really want to destroy or remove all the resources that you created because you're not going to use anymore. In that case, you can run destroy so that you can remove all the resources from AWS cloud or any cloud that you're using. Any doubts on this? Badami?
No, sir.
Okay. So how do we create a main.tf file? How do we create resources in AWS cloud? I have given you the instructions how to create EC2 instance in the default VPC, but I have not gone through further to explain the code. So today I'll be explaining the code. You can have a look at it and try to understand. Terraform state files I have already explained. Terraform workflow that I have already explained. Terraform blocks that we are going to see today. Resource block, variable block, data block, output block. And we have already seen the AWS CLI commands. We have already seen how to log into the EC2 instance. Can you tell me how to log into the EC2 instance if you have the IP address and then key? What is this format? Can you tell me? Badami or Rajit. What is this format?
It's a secured shell, sir. By using my key pair,
Yeah, it's
we'll log into the remote machine by using the IP address.
yeah, SSH command and then the input key file, the private key file, and then your user, EC2 user or Ubuntu at your IP address. As long as you know the IP address and you know the exact user as which you want to log in and you have the private key with you, and if you are in the GitBash or any command line tool, you can use this command to log into the remote server. So we also have seen creating new repository using git init and then git commit, git push, and then we also seen git merge yesterday, how to merge the branch to the master or main. Okay, copying SSH public key, we have done it manually by logging into the machine, copying the public key to the remote machine. Okay, we'll go through the Terraform code explanation. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. You guys can also take a break. I'll stop the recording for now.